אשר בוחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה
אמן.
אברהם המלך שרה ויאמר בהרי שלוש האם קמח צלת ושיב יסירה אל הבקר צלחה ויקח מן בקר שרף ותו ויתן ענר וימהר לשרתו ויקח מן פת וחלב ובין הבקר אשר עשה ויתן להם והוא אומר עליהם תחת את
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נתת לנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה
Amen. Ya'amod, Ya'amod, Habachur Habar Mitzvah. David, Benjamin, Ben Lev, Yosef, Achwen, V'chayahuva. Chazak, Chazak. Baruch Adonai Merach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Merach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan לנו את תורתו. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Abraham Bisara Zakinim Bahim Bayamim Hadali Hiro Bisara Ora Snim Betis Pa Sara Vikiva Lord Ahore Veloti Hatali Yadan Badanai Zaken Badani Zaken Hayomer Adonai Abraham Lama Zeb Samaka Sara Le'emor Ha'ab
Amen. Misha Berach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Zar Rivka Rachel v'Leah. ויברך את הבר מצווה דוד בנימין בן לב יוסף הכהן וחיה אהובה שהגיע למצוות ועלה לכבור המקום ולכבור התורה. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמר וחייב וכונן את ליבו לירושלים ומרנה אלוהיו לגוב בתורתו ללכת בדרכיו לשמור מצוותיו לשלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיו יהי רצון שיזכו הוריו לגדלו לתורה ולחופה ולמעשים טובים וימשכם בשכל טוב בעיני אלוהים ואדם ונאמר אמן. סימן טוב ומזל טוב ומזל טוב וסימן טוב סימן טוב ומזל טוב ומזל טוב וסימן טוב סימן טוב ומזל טוב ומזל טוב וסימן טוב יהי לנו David Melech Yisrael Chai v'kayam. Simito. Congratulations. Nice job. How do you feel? Older? Tired? Would you like to lie down a little bit?
Now an official teenager.
Right. Okay. Are you ready to teach us?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to? Okay.
You guys didn't catch.
I think that's fine.
Your pages here.
Loud voice, B. I can hear you. Wait till everyone's ready.
Did you know that we are standing right now on the site where people such as Abraham, Noah, Cain, and Abel, and even the first human being, Adam, have prayed and sacrificed? It just so happens that we are sitting on the spot where some of the events happened in Vayera, this week's Torah portion. In this week's portion, God tells Abraham to sacrifice his only son Isaac on the altar here on Mount Moriah. When I first began studying my portion, two main questions came up. First, why in the world would God of all beings want Isaac to be sacrificed? Well, according to some sources, this was because God wanted to test Abraham's loyalty and obedience. Now, how would you feel if God suddenly asked you to kill your only child? There are two main opinions about how Abraham reacted to this. One is by Maimonides himself, saying that Abraham feared God immensely and quickly took Isaac over to the altar to kill him. The other opinion is by the rabbis who say that Abraham wanted to obey God, but he also loved his son and wanted his bloodline to continue to rise. It says that Abraham thought and went back and forth in his thoughts and even slept on it. Both of these opinions are possible, but I guess it's up to you to decide what you think Abraham did. The point is, Abraham decided to obey God and sacrifice his son. You might all be thinking, God really let Abraham do this? No. Think again, because at the last minute, as Abraham held the knife over Isaac, a messenger angel of God told Abraham to stop, and the God was pleased. The second question I had was, why Mount Moriah? What's so special about Mount Moriah? Was there a reason that God commanded Abraham to specifically go to the land of Moriah, to a mountain that I will show you? Does this mountain that we stand on have any special significance? There are actually a lot of special things about Mount Moriah. First of all, this altar Abraham used is the same one that Adam, Noah, Cain, and Abel used before him. That would probably make something pretty special. Another reason is that Mount Moriah, even though Abraham doesn't know it, was going to be the site of the Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple itself. There is a story that explains why Mount Moriah was chosen and why it was special. This is how the story goes. Once there were two brothers who inherited their father's land. The brothers divided the land in half and each farmed his own section. Over time, the older brother married and had 6 children, while the younger brother never married. One night, the younger brother lay awake. It's not fair that each of us have half the land to farm. My brother has 6 children to feed and I have none. He should have more grain than I do. So that night the younger brother went to his silo, gathered a large bundle of wheat, and climbed the hill that separated the two farms, and over to his brother's farm, leaving the wheat in his brother's silo. The younger brother returned home feeling pleased with himself. Earlier that very same night, the older brother was also awake. It's not fair that each of us have half the land to farm, he thought. In my old age, my wife and I will have our grown children to take care of us, not to mention grandchildren, while my brother will probably have none. He should at least sell more grain from the field so he can provide for himself with dignity in his old age. So that night too, he secretly gathered a large bundle of wheat, climbed the hill, left it in his brother's silo, and returned home feeling pleased with himself. The next morning, the younger brother was surprised to see the amount of grain in his barn unchanged. must not have taken as much food as I thought," he said. He mused. "Tonight I'll be sure to take more." That very same moment, his older brother was also standing in the barn, musing much the same thoughts. After night fell, each brother gathered a greater amount of wheat from his barn and in the dark secretly delivered it to his brother's barn. The next morning, the brothers were again puzzled and perplexed. "How can I be mistaken?" Each one scratched his head. "There's the same amount of grain here as there was before I cleared the pile for my brother. This is impossible. Tonight, I'll make no mistake. I'll take the pile down to the very floor. That way I'll be sure the grain gets delivered to my brother." The third night, more determined than ever, each brother gathered a large pile of wheat from his barn, loaded his horse and cart, and slowly pulled his haul through the fields up the hill to his brother's barn. At the top of the hill, under the shadow of the moon, each brother noticed the figure in the distance. Who could it be? When the two brothers recognized the form of the older brother and the load he was pulling behind, they realized what had happened. Without a word, they dropped the ropes to their carts and embraced. This story supposedly took place on Mount Moriah, so this story makes Mount Moriah a site of love and kindness, a perfect spot for building the Holy Temple, and this explains why King Solomon decided to build the temple. Yeah. Another possible reason why Mount Moriah may have been chosen as the site for the binding of Isaac is that Mount Moriah is the location of the foundation stone, according to the rabbis, which is supposedly the center of the universe, or if you want to combine Judaism with science, we're the Jewish Big Bang. The rock's English name would be the Wellspring Rock, because that is the rock from which everything came. This site was a site of important activities in Jewish history far after the time of Abraham and even the first Holy Temple. After the first temple was destroyed, the scribe named Ezra started the tradition of publicly reading Torah right here on this exact spot. And now, as Ezra did over 2,000 years ago, I'm reading Torah publicly on Mount Moriah. When Ezra brought the Jewish people back to Jerusalem from Babylon, they found the temple in ruins. Inspired by the Torah, the people of Israel began a project of building a second holy temple on Mount Moriah. This spot was where the Israelites brought sacrifices and other gifts for God throughout the time of the second temple. If I had to choose anywhere in the world to be right now for my bar mitzvah, I would choose right here. This site is the most special place, in my opinion, for a 13-year-old Jewish boy to have his bar mitzvah. Why? Why is this site the most special? I feel that on this site I can truly connect to my ancestors and become a part of history as I become a man. I'm not only going to have one bar mitzvah, I'm only going to have one bar mitzvah, and it is one of the most important things I will do in my life. So for it to happen here, where the most important people in Judaism have prayed, is a truly unmatchable experience I will never forget, and I will carry with me.
Shakla.
Well done. The rabbi had to go.
My notes. I did prepare a few things, but I really wanted to first of all thank everybody for taking the incredibly long trip to be with us. It's incredibly special, and this is just the perfect amount. Obviously, a few important players, but missing. But this is wonderful. So on this day, historically, we say, Ben, you become a man. But I was thinking about that, or becoming a man. Thinking about that, and thinking about from the time he was born and upward, and thinking about the number of times that I've heard people say, he's a little man, he's a mensch, he's this, he's that, and Ben he's been becoming a man for a very long time, and he's actually I knew he was going to become a man before his bar mitzvah, really, in some senses, by virtue of some of the stories I'll tell you. There was one that always sticks out in my mind, and Ben knows it well because we tell it to him, and you guys, brother and sister, probably know too, but there was a time I went to a medical conference, and this was in the days where, you would really go out and they treat you to great dinners, and it was an opportunity. I wanted to go to the dinner, but I said, boy, we've got, he was about, no, he was only one.
First time? 18 months.
18 months. I thought he was a little older, but we said, you know what, bring him. What's the worst that could happen? And we'd have to leave early because he was going to have to sit there for hours. And well, Ben, he basically entertained a table of about 18 doctors with his manners. I mean, he was just, at 18 months, he was talking and telling stories to people, and they couldn't believe it. So right there, we're thinking, okay, something special is going on. Even before that, we went on a trip with the Strausses, and he was in that little hut on the beach, and he said his first word. It was quick after that, but I think it was hat, right? At, and then pop or papa or something derivation like that. You have my talents. You're keeping it. Oh, and there were numerous times I take him into the office, and there was one particular secretary of mine. She basically nicknamed him the little man. he was just a little man, and that's kind of, now he's grown to be a bigger man. As you can see, he's almost as tall as I am, which is scary. Obviously evolved, and we all know, Ben, he went on to be the president of his class, trusted, liked by his classmates, excelled in a lot of things. We don't need to go over those, but I'd like to mention a couple. He put his mind toward becoming a black belt, and since the age of four, he studied to be a black belt, and he decided that that's something he wanted to achieve. And honestly, there were times when we had to be there 3 or 4 times a week, and we're saying, Ben, are you sure you want to do this? And he kept saying, well, but he, ultimately, he decided that he wanted to do it. And it wasn't Mom and Dad that said, Ben, go. He decided on his own. So now he's starting to forge his own paths. And so what's going to happen is you're obviously going to fall sometimes. You're going to make mistakes. Okay? Well, metaphorically, you're going to fall. And so with the base that you have, there's no doubt in my mind that you'll be able to pick yourself back up, learn from your experiences, and become an amazing man that you've already become, but you'll become even greater. So I'm very proud of you. Congratulations. Love you.
Anybody else
want to say anything?
Yeah, I
You
do.
want to hug here, Ben? We have to hug you.
That's Lauren.
I'd like the grandparents to come up here. Fortunately, we don't need to give back the Torah just yet. I thought we had to do that. And I'd like you each to read one section. It's labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you all read the last section together. So start.
With gladness and thanksgiving, we praise you, O Lord our God, and God of our ancestors, for having kept us alive and sustaining us and enabling us to reach this day.
It seems like only yesterday, Ben, that we celebrated your birth. And now the Holy and Blessed One has seen fit to keep us in good health and allowed us to celebrate with our family in Eretz Israel.
We give thanks for the privilege of seeing our grandsons grow daily. We feel watching our children raise our grandchildren. We are truly blessed. Thank you.
Watch over Ben on this special day and every day. Grant him the wisdom to accept our beautiful heritage. Help him grow into the kind of Jewish adult who cares deeply about the survival and glory of the Jewish people. Dear God, may the teachings of Judaism guide Ben forever, and may he lead in life with meaning worthy of your blessing.
Look at me.
Sounds like
You're lucky that it didn't fall down there because it would have been recovered by archaeology.
Yes.
Okay. Adam?
Do you want to say something too?
I'd like to say good job to my brother because I really think he did a really good job just not complaining in the morning and getting dressed and stepping up to it and not just fading because he wanted to go back to sleep. He got up, he got dressed, and then he came here and had a great day.
Mazel tov.
Thanks, Dad.
And Lev and Andy, can you please recite the Shechianu? Amen. Ben, I want to wish you a mazel tov, and I want to present you with a small gift that hopefully will allow you to remember it. It says, this day, Mazel Tov Benjamin, November 10th, 2011, Jerusalem, from Rabbi David Epstein. Mazal Tov, you read Torah beautifully. You led the service very nicely. Fortunately, we didn't have to give back our Torah right away. That's why I had to run back. We could keep it for a little while longer for some pictures. And I want to teach you something. There's a story about Abraham. And Abraham haya over mimakom lemakom. And he would go from place to place. And in this midrash, he comes upon a palace. V'ra'a bira doleket. Bira doleket in Hebrew means a palace burning up. And the metaphor is that the world is full of evil and fire and violence and hatred, and it's destroying itself. But a marvelous Jewish theologian, Abraham Joshua Heschel, read that word doleket and said, I know of another commentary. The word doleket doesn't just mean on fire, but it also means ablaze and full of life. How do you look at the world? Is it full of good and potential and opportunity and optimism? Is it full of evil and hatred and violence? I think that's going to be for your disposition to decide. How do you look at the world? And what kind of a world will you be able to create as you grow into a fully mature Jewish adult? Please remember that as we celebrate today, you take upon yourself the responsibility to perform tikkun olam, to fix the world, and to leave it a little bit better than the way that you found it. Ben, it's been a pleasure working with you. You not only were able to pronounce the words correctly, but you were able to pray correctly, and you gave me a little bit of time off this morning, which was nice, and it's wonderful to see somebody who's clearly internalized many of the lessons. Continue to wake up on time, to get out of bed, and to step up to the world. It's my pleasure to present you with this certificate of Bar Mitzvah, David Benjamin Ben Lev Yosef HaKohen B'chaya Ahuva. You'll also receive another certificate from the conservative movement in approximately 2 months. לרגל הגיעך לגיל מצוות ועלייתך לתורה בקשת רובינson. On account of the fact that you have reached the age of mitzvot and have come for an aliyah here at Robinson's Arch. Mazal Tov. Simcha Elohim Kefraim B'chinu Rashem Yevarechecha Adonai B'Shmorecha Ya'er Adonai Panav Elecha V'Yisurecha Yisa Adonai Panav Elecha V'Yasem Lecha Shalom. Mazal Tov. Congratulations. I hope to see you here again. And you're going to lead us in the end of the service. You're going to help me. Ephraim, Nachim, and Asher. Adonai Vishmarecha. Yair Adonai. Para Velecha. Vitunecha. Isa Adonai. Pana Velecha. V'yasem Lecha. Let's turn to Aleinu. And you can find Aleinu on page 160. Aleinu l'shaveh Aleinu ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהונות השמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו, לגבי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו, אינו רמת מלכנו, אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו. ידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו Andy, thank you so much for involving me in your simcha. I'm not sure if I remember you from JPS a million years ago, but I am glad that we had a chance to celebrate. Thank you for doing such a wonderful job preparing your son, as I'm sure you'll do with your daughter and your other son. And at this point, if you'd like to take pictures with the Torah, why don't you do that? And then I'm going to unfortunately have to take it back so another family can use it. Mazal tov. Congratulations. Mazal tov. Hey, give me one.